Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Susan Lopresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul. This is the podcast where we explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to a woman's life, her health, and all aspects of navigating the midlife landscape. I'm your host, Susan Lopresti, and I'm coming on today. I have a very special guest, Dr. Carl Rothschild. And this is not the first time on my podcast where I'm talking about red light therapy. And I'm very interested in red light therapy in both this new technology, which actually is not so new. It's been around for a long, long time, but it's getting a lot of exposure in the last couple of years. And I had a guest on talking about red light therapy not that long ago, and I did my own personal episode as well. And I'm actually a user of red light therapy, and I use it mainly for beauty purposes, let's be honest. Luckily, I don't have any kind of medical problems going on, so I don't need it for anything like that, pain or any kind of an illness, thankfully. But I do use it as a way of improving my skin. And recently, I did an episode where I talked about that I'm 65. I turned 65 in February, and only one time, which was when I turned 60 in 2020, that I went for Botox. And I talk about the fact that I went in February of 2020, and we all know that in March of 2020, COVID hit and we were all isolated in our homes. And quite honestly, who cared if I had wrinkles on my face when we were all trying to keep our immune system strong and stay away from people and stay healthy? And so I never did go back to ever get injectables again. And I talked about this on my podcast that right now I'm holding off on doing that. And I'm looking for other ways of maintaining, let's say, youthfulness that is not invasive like injectables, because I'm sort of on the fence with what's in them and what are the long-term effects and all of that. And I'm not putting anyone down who does injectables, but as of right now, I'm not. Will I never? No, never say never. And honestly, I'm leaning towards probably trying it again in the near future. But for now, I'm holding off and I'm using red light therapy. I have Dr. Carl Rothschild with me today, and he adds a completely new perspective on red light therapy and the technology and how it is helping so many of his patients. I want to give you a little bit of information about Dr. Carl, and then I will bring him on and you will hear a fascinating episode about red light therapy, the benefits of it, and some of his patients and the remarkable results they're getting from using red light therapy. Dr. Carl Rothschild is the founder, researcher, and the owner of Trifecta Light Technologies, Inc., a leading innovator in LED infrared red light therapeutic technology. Since 1979, Dr. Rothschild has dedicated his career to helping patients achieve optimal health through his successful chiropractic practice. A lifelong learner, he explored various healing modalities before focusing on the transformative potential of LED technology. His pioneering work led to the development of numerous LED products for various companies, ultimately refining his expertise in infrared red light therapy. With over 20 years of groundbreaking research and innovation, Dr. Rothschild has cemented his reputation as a leading authority in the field. His advanced LED infrared red light bed and pad systems have set new technology standards, earning him recognition as one of the world's foremost thought leaders in the science. Today, Trifecta Light Beds and pad systems represent the pinnacle of red light therapy technology, offering unparalleled benefits in the field. Dr. Rothschild is the author of Illuminated Healing, a definitive and comprehensive exploration of the remarkable power of LED infrared light technology. And without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Carl to my podcast. Sit back, listen to this incredible episode with an open mind, and see if red light therapy may be what you've been looking for in your health and wellness journey. Welcome, Dr. Carl. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi there, Carl Rothschild here. I am so happy to be on your show. I've been a chiropractor for 47 years, but fortunately, 20 years into my practice, around 27 years ago, give or take, I was introduced to red light therapy. And, it was hard to believe. And I bet you if I just went up to somebody who knew nothing about red light therapy and I said, here, shine this on somebody and it's going to make a difference. Hey, it's a little bit easy to swallow now, but 26 years ago, it was pretty unbelievable. But it revolutionized my practice. In fact, I've had 12 practices, and every one of them, all of my associate doctors, all incorporated red light therapy one way or another into their practice or into the business. Then about 13, give or take, years ago, I was introduced to the fact that there was an element of one particular range of wavelengths in the red area that actually helped with weight loss. And and I know that there's pretty much nothing as popular as helping people with weight loss, and people will do anything, and some of it's pretty stupid. But imagine you could have a natural process that would assist with diet and weight loss. And so that's when I said, okay, I'm going to get into this even more seriously. And I was very serious up to that point, but even more seriously, and started manufacturing equipment. And we were involved with lasers and pads and a variety of different products, some smaller, some larger. And we were having what I would say a pretty good experience. And then something happened to all of us called COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And our practitioners wanted less physical contact between the patient and the provider. And we built this bed, or we built a bed. That was years ago. And we just built it as a substitute for what we had had up to that point, because with a bed, you don't need staff. And it's really not for home use, although people who have more money than health sometimes do buy it for home. But this is a major medical grade, full body device that's not commonly at home. I have it in my home. I'm 72 years old and I use it 3 times a week, and I don't have a particular ailment. I don't want a particular ailment. We'll talk about that later. At any rate, there I am. We're producing these beds, shipping them out. We're just hoping that there would be at least a decent substitute for what we were dealing with before, only because of COVID, only because you don't need staff. There's no physical contact between the patient and provider. Within a month of us having shipped the first series of devices out, we were getting feedback that was truly unbelievable. Wow. So let me give you an example. In fact, when I start some of my presentations, I'll ask everybody, if you're a health provider or not, pretend you are a health provider, all of you. I'm going to ask you a question. What would you do if somebody called you up and said, I am having a heart attack once, if not even more often, a week, once a week, sometimes twice a week. And this has been going on for a dozen years. So I've had hundreds of heart attacks. Can you help me? What would you do for me? What can you do? And I would ask the audience, and sometimes I have a few people, sometimes a large audience. And who has an answer for that? Nobody.
No.
Except I do. So the practitioner called me up and said, I don't know if I should even treat this guy. He's having a heart attack so often. I don't want him having a heart attack in my office. And I said, let's just treat him for 5 minutes. Now, treatment is normally 12 minutes. Let's just treat this guy for 5 minutes, stay in the room the whole time, and see what happens. One thing we know for sure, There has never been a recorded side effect in the 50 years this technology has been studied. So you couldn't hurt somebody if you tried. So why not try it?
Mm-hmm.
Now he gets in with an electronic component that they had implanted a defibrillator in his chest 12, 13 years ago. So every time he died, it zapped him back to life. But he was dying. By the time we met him, everything was going. If you want to kill off a part of your body, you just put a tourniquet around it, restrict blood flow to it, and it will die. And he was dying. He had no energy. He had so many different symptoms and issues. He couldn't even he used to be an athlete. He could barely walk around the block, and he'd talk about the little old ladies on their walkers zooming past him. Wow. At any rate, that patient goes home that night after a 5-minute treatment. And that was almost 2 years ago. He hasn't had a heart attack since. Hundreds of heart attacks, no more heart attacks. He's had more treatment, no more heart attacks. That evening when he went home, he said one thing he didn't expect is that his energy would be through the roof, as the way he described it. This patient also had, when we first met him, he had black moles, raised moles on his face, a darker skinned gentleman. And when I interviewed him, they were all gone. So it sounds unbelievable. Maybe it is unbelievable. And when I tell you how it works and why it works, you'll see why it can help every square inch of your body with every condition. I don't know if I could say many conditions that otherwise are not being helped. So we had a lady, well, anyhow, that guy Arnett talks about his erectile dysfunction no longer being a problem, talks about his energy, talks about his clarity. It's just amazing. So what I'm going to do at the end of this, I'm going to send you some video testimonials. Many of them are on our YouTube channel. So for that reason, I would recommend people go to the YouTube channel, which is, you just go to YouTube and put in the word Trifecta Light, which is the name of the company right there. Trifecta Light Official, one word. And you'll see over 100 videos, and some of them are stupendous. We've had a company that really helped us to edit them and to make them really shine. At any rate, if you can't tell, I'm a little nutso about this stuff. I started as a chiropractor, as a hippie back in the thought of becoming a chiropractor started in 1972 when I was still in college. And I just had this, my girlfriend and my girlfriend's mother was saved by a chiropractor. Now I'm from New York, where it's very medically oriented. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how people thought I was totally out of my mind to even think about becoming a chiropractor. But when I traveled around the country, every city I hit, we didn't have internet, we just had the phone book. We would look up every chiropractor there, and we would just randomly call them. And there was no cell phone. So we would just randomly, we had to stop at the hotel or whatever and call them up. And I never found a chiropractor that didn't love what they were doing. No, I wanted that. I wanted to be helpful and love what I'm doing. I want to look forward to waking up in the morning to go to work. There's not a lot of people that feel that way and make some money. Money was not my main focus at all. I was a hippie, my version of a hippie, and I wanted to be of help. And at any rate, man, we are helping people like you can't believe. But getting back to this gentleman who was having the heart attacks, it's changed his life. And then when Jessica was having so many different problems, when I interviewed her, she suffered from Lyme disease and shingles and 20 years of only diarrhea. She had 3 forms of psoriasis and other autoimmune issues as well. She had guttate psoriasis, plaque psoriasis, and psoriatic arthritis. And she would wake up some mornings where her toes were black and blue and swollen. They call it sausage toes or dactylitis. And she was a mess. And she had 16 different serious conditions, including migraines and kidney stones. And it just goes on and on and on. And I interviewed her. It was like, what? And one of the things she had was uveitis, which is the precursor to macular degeneration. So, no, I'm sorry, to glaucoma. And the treatment for that, uveitis means a swelling in the eye. Normally, the pressure in the eye is about 10, 12, something like that. Hers was 180. And she was in bad shape. So the treatment for that was an injection right in her eye once a month. And each injection was billed to the insurance at $5,000. And the drops that she was taking were also, the copay was $400 for her. So she was a mess. And when you watch the video, she'll just say, I say, well, what's your pressure in your eye now? She said, normal. I don't have that issue anymore. I don't have the psoriasis where I had the rash and down her chin or around her forehead or down both arms and legs. Those are gone. So, you would be hard pressed to find anybody. I know there are some, but there are very few that we can't help. That red light therapy can't help. But what we found is that it's about bathing the whole body at the same time, not using little pads or, I don't mind those. People say, well, what about face masks? What about head things? And they're fine. They're okay. But if you want these amazing results, we call it the fountain of youth. If you want these amazing results, you need full body coverage, top and bottom, head to toe, left and right, inside and out, affecting as many cells as possible. But we're going to talk about that and how it works and stuff like that in just a little while. But,
okay.
So I don't object to anything that people get, the home use stuff. My problem with it is that it doesn't work as well, not even close. So when someone does something, let's say foolishly someone hires a plumber and it was a bad experience, and someone says, well, but I think you really need a plumber. No, they're all, plumbing is no good. I'm not going to get a plumber. There are people out there that will try red light using an inferior product, and they won't have a great experience, and they are now an expert in how red light doesn't work. But I've been witness to, I've had the joy of having hundreds of locations throughout the country sending me feedback that is quite unbelievable. I mean, I haven't gotten any practitioner who hadn't said it was very easy to offer to their patients, and it grew their business tremendously. Again, I'm not money oriented at all, but if something's really great, but it's not making any money, no one's going to be interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
And the opposite's true as well. In my life, if I was only making money and not being of service and helping people, that wouldn't work for me as well. And I know I've already said that, but I'm not, I don't want it to sound too corny here, but if you can, again, I'm nuts about this. So one of my staff members, can you read that?
Get in the bed.
Well, it was a mug that one of my staff members made for me because that's my attitude. It was like, would you just get in the bed and try it? It's 6 visits that, if after 6 visits, you don't notice any change at all, it might take more visits, but after 6, almost everybody will notice some change, whether it's from Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune disease, including rheumatoid arthritis. We had a lady that her rheumatoid arthritis was pretty bad. She was a dancer, professional dancer prior to that. So when she would come home, she'd have to knock on the door of her neighbor who would help her get in because she couldn't use the key to get into the door. And after just a couple of visits on red light, full body red light therapy, she feels great. She's back to, she's not a professional dancer, but she's back to dancing. She could obviously open the door. So it's about quality of life.
Yes.
It's about, one of the things that I used to hear as a chiropractor from time to time was a phrase that now we're hearing a lot. And that's, thank you for giving me my life back. So when a guy had Charcot-Marie tooth disease, which is a weird name for an autoimmune disease, which guaranteed him pain every day and didn't allow him to really walk. And after 6 visits, no more pain. And he's walking, treadmill, bicycle. No one's seen him in the neighborhood walking his dog before. He's walking his dog. His wife is very grateful that now he can be of assistance. At any rate, how could you not, if you know what I'm about, and most chiropractors got into it to help people. And so the chiropractors took to red light therapy like unbelievably. It was brought here to the United States by a medical doctor who was an orthopedic surgeon and a professor out of USC. And he couldn't get any of his medical doctors to get on board with him because they wanted to do the surgery. They wanted to make that $20,000, $30,000 or whatever. And that's the nutso thing about this country, that it's so money oriented, that how do you have a doctor who's tempted so tremendously that he either is going to make $20,000 or not by just what he's about to say, because he's either going to recommend that surgery or not recommend that surgery. It's nuts. At minimum, the person suggesting the surgery should never be doing the surgery. But, that's just, I like capitalism. I think it's great, but I'm not sure it has a great position in the healthcare industry in this country or any country. So when I talk to people, I do podcasts all over the world, which is easy to say because I don't have to do anything but sit in the same chair and just, I'm doing a podcast with somebody in Australia, for example, but I was doing one the other day with somebody from the UK, and they couldn't believe what I was telling them, how money oriented this country is. All right. Anyhow,
I have a question.
I'm going to
So,
allow you to ask a question.
okay, great. Thank you. So, can you buy that bed that I'm looking at there? Someone could buy that bed and bring it into their home and use
Of
it at
course,
home, or they could come to your practice. Where are you located, by the
I'm not in
way?
practice. I haven't been in practice for years. I've been too busy with all this stuff.
Okay,
We have offices all over the country.
okay,
So to that end, asking a question of like, how would you find a location closest to you? All you do is you go to the website, which is trifectalight.com. I believe it's written
yes,
here. Go to trifectalight.com, and there's a section there that says find a location closest to you. So
okay,
there are three possibilities. People that will never want to buy it for themselves, which makes sense. I understand that. That's most people. There are some people that have more money than health and recognize that this would be a wise thing to do for the rest of their lives, like me. And then there are the majority of people who we hear from are looking to add it to their business. And it's the entire fitness industry, aesthetic world, the whole beauty industry, the weight loss industry, the, of course, healing industry, med spas, day spas, health spas, all those things, they're all going to benefit by having red light therapy in their facility. And they are going to, in the future, be at a deficit or a disadvantage if they're not keeping up. So it would be like, I got plenty of stories I'm not going to bore you with, but it's just critical that people get red light into their business. And I'm telling you why full body bed is the way to go. Again, we learned that when you bathe the whole body at the same time, that's when you're going to see the miracle changes. So if somebody comes in just for an elbow problem, okay, you just want to laser the elbow, that's fine. But as a chiropractor and being a holistic practitioner, I'm going to want to treat the entire spine, especially the neck to the upper thoracic area. I'm going to want to trace all the way down the nerve and blood system to the elbow. So I would use a full body device. You asked me about being in practice. I have never treated anybody in one of these beds. But my insanity comes from living vicariously from the feedback I get from everybody.
yes.
They'll go, well, you didn't tell me it helps this or that or whatever. Well, we don't know. Occasionally I get somebody, because we've had so many patients treated with all kinds of crazy things, but every once in a while, a new thing comes up.
Does it help with sciatica?
Okay, you got to ask me difficult questions. The musculoskeletal world is the easiest thing we have to deal with. So any form of neuropathy will benefit tremendously. Now, let me explain something to you. That doesn't mean do this instead of that. It doesn't mean only do red light therapy. I'm going to talk to you about an element of red light that can actually help with weight loss, as we described before.
Yes.
If somebody goes home and gets drunk and pigs out every night, it ain't going to be very effective. So it's a combination. So if somebody is an acupuncturist, don't give that up, or a chiropractor, don't give that up. I just had a discussion yesterday with a guy, and he's saying, well, I don't want it to negatively affect my chiropractic practice having the bed here. It's not. You're going to enhance the business you already have tremendously. Everyone gets in the bed first, and then you do all these other things afterwards. And you're going to see an amazing increase in people wanting to do this. I mean, it's like a magnet that's going to draw a whole bunch of new people to your business, but it also is going to get everybody that's already in your practice. And it's a great way even to, get people who you haven't seen in a long time. You send them a note saying, I got some exciting news. We got this great thing and blah, blah. We have the letters and all that stuff. We include 32 things with the purchase when we call it a business in a box. If it's for home use, you don't need all that stuff, but we include all marketing and everything like that. I'm promising you that if you get the bed and you have a business that already has traffic, the only thing it's going to do is enhance the business you already have. Even if you're maxed out, you would just need one room, you put the bed in there, and it's a revenue enhancer, if nothing else. But people are going to come up to you and they're going to thank you for giving them their life back. Because yes, I love chiropractic, and I love that I can help people with certain issues. But when you add the red light, you asked about sciatica. Sciatica is a slam dunk. If now let me state this carefully. It depends on what causes a sciatica, or what we need to incorporate along with the bed. So let's say somebody has a dislocated shoulder and they only get red light treatment. That ain't smart. You got to fix the shoulder and then use red light therapy. If someone has a bullet lodged in their shoulder or whatever, you got to get rid of the bullet. So it's not just red light therapy. If anyone ever told you that, that's crazy. But it should be incorporated in your business. It should be incorporated in your life. Listen, people don't realize how much it costs to be sick if they've never been that sick. And as you get old, it's assumed you're going to get sick if you're not using red light therapy to have a much higher quality of life. I liken the well-being of somebody like a candle that burns really bright in the beginning, continues all the ways out to the end, and then sputters out and dies. Not someone that the last 20 years of their life, they're in a wheelchair, they can't walk, they can't function, they can't drive, they're immobile, they're a burden on everybody around them, they can't feed themselves, they can't wash themselves, and they can't wipe themselves. I don't want that for myself.
No.
And if you know, the reason why some people don't take care of themselves, because they're going to tell you, I'm living for today, I don't care about the future. They're crazy.
Yeah.
Because their 70-year-old self is going to be looking at them and say, schmuck, what are you doing? Look at what you've done to me. Because your selfishness when you're 30 made sure that when at 70 to 80 or whatever I'm going to live is not fun. It's not fun. It's a lot more fun being mobile, being able to talk and think and be lucid. And yes, some of the diseases, I mean, we've helped people with dementia and Parkinson's and all that stuff. We had this one lady, her Parkinson's was pretty severe. And the thing that bothered her more than anything, and she had many symptoms, but what bothered her the most of all was that when she went to church, she couldn't hold the Bible because her tremors were so severe. And after a short period of time of full body red light therapy, tremors were still there, but they were so mild that she was easily able to hold the Bible. It's not always about cure. Well, I can't even use the word cure. It's about treating. And with some people, it's a maximum success. With some people that have such a severe problem, like multiple sclerosis or Parkinson's or things like that, that we're going to get their quality of life much better. And they'll be thrilled. We had this guy that had LHON. If you look it up, it's Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. I had never heard of that before. Now I can't stop knowing about it because when I found out about it, it's tragic. It's horrible. You're guaranteed to go blind, but you're not born blind. So you have witnessed that you have full sight and no one can do anything about it. And you're going blind. By the time you're 30, you will be blind.
Wow.
And what it sounds like is it's kind of a multiple sclerosis of the retina. Now, multiple sclerosis is about eating away the nervous tissue, like a cavity. And what we have found with multiple sclerosis, for example, is that we can halt the progression. We're probably not going to regain what has already been lost, but we can stop what's going on and we can get rid of many of the symptoms. So this guy with the essentially, well, LHON, we halted the progression. The sight he lost is gone, but he's thrilled to death that he's not going to be completely blind. So he can see, just not as well as if we had gotten him 20 years earlier. Well, 10 years earlier, we would have been able to halt it that much earlier. But he was thrilled, and we got rid of the other symptoms. He had not only migraine headaches, other headaches, insomnia, and a few other things. They're all gone. What I'm saying to you is that some of the people listening to this, and rightfully so, think I'm crazy because it sounds like snake oil. I get that from especially medically oriented people. This sounds like snake oil, and it does. So I think it's a good time to tell you how and why it works. But
I just want to, yes, I have another question. Dementia and Alzheimer's, I hear that it helps tremendously. I've heard. So Talk to me about that for a second.
I don't want everybody to believe what I have to say. So here's what I want you to do. Go to Google Scholar, which is scholar.google.com. I'm going to be sending you some show notes and that'll be
Okay,
included in there.
great.
Scholar.google.com. It'll look just like Google, but because it is from Google, but it's the scholarly version. So articles and research papers and things like that will come up instead of advertisement, because when people look at regular Google, you need to know that people pay to be on the front page of Google. Well, you're not paying anything to be on Google Scholar because this is real stuff. And you put in the word red light therapy. Well, the phrase red light therapy. And would you be surprised to know that there would be 3.5 million entries that will come up? Not asking you to read all 3.5 million articles, double-blind studies, and research papers, but a lot of stuff about red light therapy. And then after that, put in any word after that, like dementia, like Alzheimer's, like whatever, and see the research that's been done on these. So you don't have to take my word for it.
Okay.
You don't happen to hear my lawn guy clean. Anyhow, I hope he doesn't.
I heard a
Right
little,
here.
I heard a little sound. That happens to me all the time. I live in the city. Every time I'm on Zoom, they're blowing leaves or cutting the grass.
I think that's what the guy's doing, is blowing leaves. But anyhow, so with that said, let's talk about how it works.
Sure.
So there are two completely different mechanisms. One mechanism is about fat loss, and that was only discovered about a dozen years ago, where they discovered there was an element of red light that can actually assist in fat loss. And the way that well, in the beginning, they thought it emulsified the fat or liquefied the fat or whatever. What they found out, that ain't true. And what they found out was that actually what's happening is that the fat cell wall becomes temporarily porous and allows the fat contents to leak out. But the fat cell will be fully intact, not damaged in any way. 24 hours later, it goes back to the way it was before. And so the beauty of this is you're not damaging anything. And I'm a chiropractor. I'm not interested in putting anything in the body that doesn't belong there. I'm not interested in yanking anything out that does belong there. And I'm not interested in damaging or injuring anything. Some people think that fat cells are to be killed and gotten rid of. Now, fat cells are essential tissue that are involved with stem cell production, hormone production, and it's a big mistake that they're going to learn down the road that people are actually going to have long-term problems, I think, when they see how fat cells were taken out of the body or killed or destroyed or whatever. So it's not about freezing the fat or boiling the fat. It's not about radio frequency or ultrasonic cavitation or anything to destroy fat cells. And that's the beauty. That's why chiropractors love this stuff. We're not damaging anything. In fact, that's why natural healers in general love this stuff. But actually, nurse practitioners and a variety of other health practitioners have gotten on board, including fitness centers. And people are going to see a lot more red light therapy in their city, in their area. And just remember that most of it is junk. I'm sorry, but it's junk. Our biggest competition is China, because China will produce something that costs $1.50. People think, oh, that's, those shoes, $1.50, that's perfect. And they only wear, they only work for one wearing, and then they got to throw them away.
Yes.
So quality does have something to do here. So getting back to how it works. So that's how fat cells work, is that temporarily the fat contents, the fat cell wall changes, the fat contents are leaked out. And with our special protocol, we can move the fat away from the fat cells and eventually to the liver for use or elimination. And then we teach all that and train people on how to do it, but it's really very simple. In fact, if you incorporate red light therapy with what I call a calorically neutral diet, which lessens the amount of starchy carbohydrates, simple sugar, sodas, and alcohol, you'll do very well. There are some people who have been on great diets, when you look at it, and they've plateaued out. And it has to do with hormones. It has to do, so red light takes them to another level.
Interesting.
There are all kinds of articles why these injections that everyone's taking,
Yes.
it's not so smart. And so, I just saw another article about how we're going to have more pancreas problems, more liver and kidney problems than we've in regards to fat loss than ever before.
Yes.
Don't put something in your body that you're not positive you know why, and don't yank anything out. So now let's talk about the area that I really love. I mean, I like weight loss, and I know it's more popular than anything else, but I'm a healer, and the fact that I can heal things is amazing. With incorporating, of course, chiropractic when I was in practice, but now also incorporating red light therapy with any chiropractor or anyone that wants to heal people. Again, I'm not supposed to use the word heal, treat people.
Okay.
So at any rate, they didn't know how it worked. You remember, they've been studying this for at least 50 years. NASA's been studying it. Other countries have been studying it. And to be honest with you, the United States is slow to get on board with this because we're much more money oriented and red light is a great way to not make as much money as you could with the other means of surgery and drugs. Mm-hmm. At any rate, they had no idea how it worked until more recently. And they realize now that it's the core of this whole thing is the mitochondria. Now, people, when I went to school, we were taught that the mitochondria was the powerhouse of the body, that there's one mitochondria in every cell of your body, and that the mitochondria is the reason why you breathe oxygen and eat food to create this, what we call the energy currency of the body, which is called ATP. ATP is this molecule that is critical for every activity of your body, every mechanism, anything in your body requires ATP. That's how these things happen. So what they learned is that there's now diseases called dysfunctional mitochondrial dysfunction. There are books about mitochondrial dysfunction, and there's a disease, at least one disease called mitochondrial dysfunction. So guess what? You can stimulate the mitochondria with using red light therapy. Now, while I say red light therapy, I want to make sure everyone knows that I'm incorporating red light therapy with near infrared. That when I say red light, I'm talking about the integration of those two. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to talk about infrared. You've heard the word infrared, but there is no real such word of just infrared. So infrared is either far infrared or near infrared. Far infrared is just a fancy way of getting deep penetrating heat. It's not going to give you long-term help. I mean, I liked it in my practice because it could loosen up the tissues so I can do manipulation much easier. Because to use a heat pack to get the depth of penetration that you get with far infrared, you'd burn the skin. So far infrared was helpful, but it didn't make these long-term changes. I didn't get somebody call me up saying, thank you for giving me my life back with far infrared. Near infrared is the one that does that. Thank you for giving me my life back. So how does it work? What they found was that in the membrane of each mitochondria is this enzyme sitting around called cytochrome C oxidase. And it happens to be stimulated by certain elements of sunlight. Makes sense, right? We're on this planet, there's a sun, stimulate the mitochondria to come back to life. You might think, well, what if I just sit out in the sun? And that's fine. But now what we've done is we've taken sunlight, magnified it thousands of times, and drive it deep into the person's body. So we're no longer getting subtle minor changes. We're talking about major, major changes. So getting back to it again, so cytochrome C oxidase is stimulated by sunlight, certain elements of sunlight, not the bad ones. We're not doing UV light or blue light, which screws up the circadian rhythms. We're just dealing with beautiful red and even more beautiful near infrared. We're stimulating that cytochrome C oxidase to come back to do its thing, to stimulate the mitochondria to do its thing, to produce the right amount of ATP to make the body function the way it should. So now healing can take place. Now all these activities can take place much better. And that's why it sounds like snake oil, because every cell has mitochondria, and we're stimulating as many of these mitochondria, many of these cells as we possibly can, because we're bathing the whole body at the same time. That's a critical thing. Now you want to bathe the whole body with very high-end medical grade lights. What makes a light medical grade is the fact that it is very strong without getting hot. Heat is the absolute enemy. So if you've ever heard of infrared saunas, that first of all, that infrared is far infrared. But no matter what, and I don't have any objection to, remember, I don't have an objection to far infrared, but it's not what we're talking about here. And in fact, you wouldn't want to do anything before doing near infrared. Near infrared is the first thing you want to do, because any activity or heat or anything like that will bring much more fluid, blood, to the surface of the body, and that would block the penetration of the light. You don't want to do anything that could possibly block the penetration of light. So if I'm on the 5th floor of my chiropractic office and the elevator goes out and the person's running up the stairs because they're going to be late otherwise for their appointment, and they come in and they're huffing and puffing and they're flush, we can't treat them right then and there. We need to get at least 15, 20 minutes for their body to settle down and for their pulse to come back to regular standard 72, give or take.
I have a question, an experience that I had personally. I went to a spa that had an infrared sauna, and I guess I was in there for about 20 to 30 minutes. And when I left there, I went into, they had a salt cave, and I was in there for about 30 minutes. The next morning, I woke up with welts all over my body. And I think it was from the infrared sauna.
Yeah, far infrared, yeah. Well, not everybody's going to react that way, but I'm not, I know far infrared could be helpful if the person doing it knows what they're doing. When it's in a gym and it's not monitored, I don't know what's going on there. And,
Yeah.
and, you know, as chiropractors, we love toys. We love them. So, you know, I had all kinds of stuff in my practice, and 12 of them, I'd have a lot of things, but it wasn't until we had the full body bed when I realized, okay, now we're in a different realm. This is called the realm of miracles. Miracles.
Yeah.
So I even had a guy that wanted to invest with me on salt caves, and we explored the heck out of it. And they're nice, they're okay. You ain't seeing miracles from them.
No.
And if you get in this red light bed, you try it 6 times. To find a location nearest to you, again, you go to trifectalight.com. We'll find a location closest to you, and you try it out. You might be interested in buying it for your home. Again, it costs about $1,400 a month to use this bed, to have the bed. But if it's in a business, $1,400 is very easy to get, because the many patients are going to sign up for this, and we have coaches and trainers to make sure that you know how much you should charge and how to collect that and how to do that. It's not difficult. It's one of the easiest things. When I built my 12 practices, that was a struggle. I didn't have red light therapy back then, and it wasn't so easy. Now this stuff is much, and we didn't have the internet. We didn't have, you know, we had to do real serious marketing back then. I had to do classes and lectures and health fairs, and oh my God, we worked so hard. And now it's much easier. You go to, you know, you do the Facebook marketing, and boom, and we include Facebook marketing with the purchase of the bed. At any rate, I just want to make sure that everyone understands how it works. We're talking about mitochondria, we're talking about cytochrome C oxidase, we're talking about stimulating using just 4 elements of sun. That's what we've done, is 4 glorious wavelengths of sun. 2 different wavelengths in the red light realm, and 2 different elements of near infrared, driving that into the person's body. And that's why these results are so spectacular. Now, somebody might say, well, what about the eyes? Should I wear goggles? No. Remember I told you about the lady with the uveitis?
Yes.
If she were wearing goggles, she would have not had these amazing results, and she would still be getting injections in her eyes and $400 a month copay on the drops.
Can you look directly into the light, or do you keep your eyes closed?
Well, let me give you here's the instruction. So we're not going to wear goggles. I mean, there's some people that think they know better than anyone. So, okay, wear the damn goggles, but I don't want them wearing the goggles. Just keep your eyes closed. Can you open your eyes? Of course, but it's a very bright light. So if you had a flashlight, would you want to stare at the flashlight all day? So you can open your eye for a second here and there, but I'm not, you know, you don't have to. Now, let me tell you why you don't have to. The lights can penetrate your skull and get to the brain. So we have psychologists that now recognize that if they would use red light therapy, they can help their patients tremendously. We had a lady that wrote me a letter. It said something to the effect of, if this is how normal people feel every day, I can't believe I've been missing out all this time.
Wow.
She was unbelievably depressed. She
Oh,
hated her life, and now she doesn't. So if it can get through the skull and get to your brain, guess what? It can easily get through your eyelid and get to your eye. And now, so what about the eye? Macular degeneration, macular edema, floaters. Floaters, amazing. Most people who have floaters will see a change in 2 weeks. So again, that's 3 times a week is by default, 12-minute sessions. That's 6 visits, and you should see a nice change in the floaters. Some things take longer, but almost everybody will see some change in 6 visits. So at minimum, if I'm telling you it couldn't hurt at all.
mhm.
At minimum, it won't hurt. But at maximum, it could help tremendously. So we talked about how fat loss works. We talked about how the healing world works. We talked about snake oil, why it sounds like snake oil, because it is unbelievable. It is. I don't doubt that you might have your own doubts about it, but try it out.
Yeah.
And so just go on to the website and we'll find out if we have a location closest to you. If we don't have a location near you, then I'm joking here now. It's your obligation to get one of your practitioners in the area to get one of these beds, and they will thank you tremendously. They will thank you.
Well, I'm in New York, so I am assuming that I could easily find a location. I'm in
Define New York.
Queens.
You know, I'm from Brooklyn. Where are you
Well,
from?
I'm originally from Brooklyn as well, from downtown Brooklyn.
I'm from East Flatbush.
Oh, okay.
With that said, believe it or not, we don't have any in the actual city. We have Long Island. We have north of it.
Okay, Long Island, I'm very close to because I live in Queens now.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
just you're going to go to the website. You're going to find a location. But better than that, just send me an email. And if anyone wants to contact me, when you go to the website, trifectalight.com, there's a contact us page, and just say, this is for Dr. Rothschild, and it will get to me.
Okay.
So
So
whatever your questions you have or any issues you have, other than that,
what are your final thoughts here, Doctor? What do you want to leave my audience with?
yeah, I just don't want to sound like I'm crazy.
No.
I do recommend, if you want to know about red light, I would recommend reading this book. I wrote it. It's called Illuminated Healing. And it's good. I wrote a good book. I gave it to the editor, and they turned it into a really, I don't know if I could use the word great, but very good book. You know, sometimes an editor could smooth out the edges and make it sing almost, really nice. So
Yes.
it did a really beautiful job with it. And it's pretty comprehensive, and it goes over a lot of the stuff about red light therapy. And there's a lot of misconceptions, but the truth of the matter is that nothing was more controversial than chiropractic. When I was, within my first year of practice, I was threatened to be put in jail. I had a medical doctor in particular that called me up and said, if you treat my patient, I'm going to get the sheriff to come after you. His patient was pregnant. He couldn't do anything for her. I helped her back pain tremendously. You remember my malpractice insurance, a chiropractor's malpractice insurance is like nothing. It's like a couple of $1,000s a year. And their malpractice insurance is like $100,000, $200,000 a year. So don't give me this hard time about how I'm going to hurt your patient. How about if you don't hurt your patient yourself?
Yes.
We couldn't hurt. I mean, but red light therapy is even safer. It's incredible. And whatever you do in your practice, and then let me talk to you about athletes. I know you asked me for one thing. You got to shut me up sometimes because I can't.
No, I know you're passionate about it. I could tell. So go ahead. Tell us about athletes.
Athletes. So if imagine you're a very competitive person, maybe you're a professional athlete, and you keep competing against this person who you match up very closely with. Sometimes you win, sometimes they win. And I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but if you incorporated red light therapy and they don't, you're going to win every time. I know it sounds crazy. So the reason why NBA teams have red light therapy, the reason why some major athletic facilities have our bed, the reason why the Olympic Training Center for track and field had our bed, is because they get in the bed in the morning. They get out of bed, their own bed, then they get in a red light bed in the morning. And their workout that day is incredible. Now, these people, professional, especially the Olympics, these professional athletes would exercise for 8 hours, would train and exercise for 8 hours a day. So when they wake up the next morning, normally they'd be spent, exhausted, sore. And they found themselves waking up the next morning fine. And then they would get in the bed again. And sometimes they would get in it twice. So they get in the morning, do their thing during the day, and get in it again in the evening. And so it gives a tremendous benefit and an advantage. And I don't, it's somebody might say, well, it's an unfair advantage. No, it's not. This person breathes better oxygen than that. Is that an unfair advantage? I don't even get that. So in Europe, they had a committee meeting with the Olympic group, whatever, and one lady gets up and says, it's an unfair advantage to use red light therapy. So first of all, I want you to get an idea that it's extremely effective.
Right.
And if you're an athlete, you're not using red light therapy, full body red light therapy, you're making a big mistake. So if you don't have the funds, just go to a facility near you. If you have the funds, buy one for your own facility, your own home, because you're going to love it. You're absolutely it's going to change your life. It's going to be able to not only get you to perform much better, but guess what? You're going to recover from any injury or anything that you've done to yourself much faster.
Beautiful. That's
Tom
great.
Cruise was injured on one of his, because he's crazy to do his own stunts.
Yes.
And they flew out, not my company, this was years ago, they flew out a red light bed to him somewhere in Europe. So I'm only telling you that because red light is really great. And we have now the most powerful, most effective bed that you can imagine. And it doesn't get hot. It's not uncomfortable. Most people just fall asleep. It's just 12 minutes and they're going to love it.
12 minutes. That's beautiful. I'm certainly going, I'm very close to Long Island. I'm practically on the Nassau County line. So I am going to find my location nearest to me and give it a shot. See how I do. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Call, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.